is about the female menstrual cycle. So in your workbooks, you want to look for the page with this diagram on it, and within this I'm going to explain to you why your energy fluctuates throughout a month. Now, I remember coming across this information and it absolutely fascinated me. It gave me an incredible insight into why I had fluctuating libido, why I had, some days I had great hair days and other days I had really bad hair days, why sometimes I liked myself and at other times I hated myself, why sometimes I felt hugely creative and at other times I didn't, why at certain points I could speak really clearly in the month and some months I couldn't string my words together. I was fascinated when I found out that female human beings are wired each and every month to reproduce. And as a result of that wiring, various hormones were being released into the female body to create different states. And these different states were determined, you can actually see them on your worksheet, they determine whether we are out there in the world being seen and being prepared for connecting with another so that we can reproduce. And at other times in the month, these hormones were being released into our body so that we could reflect and review, if we haven't become pregnant, as to whether things are working out for us in our lives. So basically there's two main hormones that release into the female cycle each month. The first one is estrogen, and estrogen will make our skin glow, it makes our hair thicker, it makes our energy higher. It basically, on the whole, it makes us brighter and it makes us stand out more in the world. We're stronger and more vital when our estrogen levels are higher. And at a certain point in the month, our estrogen levels, it's a cycle, so our estrogen levels begin to increase, they optimize, and then they begin to drop again. And after they drop, what happens is we then have progesterone, which is released into our cycle. And when progesterone is released into our cycle, it's almost like a sleepy hormone. It begins to slow us down, it makes us more introspective. It basically, it works so that we withdraw more from the outer world. We become more reflective, more introspective. And basically at this point in the month, we're working out, is my life working for me or not? So one, we have these hormones that are being released into our body, but these particular hormones basically determine whether we are energetic and high or whether we're lower and more introspective. Just to know that in itself is an incredible insight as to why we might feel different at different times in the month. For so many of us, we think our thoughts are driving our lives, but equally as women, our hormonal cycles are driving our energy, and ultimately that then shapes our thoughts as we go through each and every single month. So throughout the month, we have 4 different phases. If we start in the spring phase, this is when our estrogen levels are highest. So in the spring phase, as our estrogen increases, we feel more creative, we may feel more decisive, we feel clearer in our thinking, our linguistics are clearer, and basically in the reproductive cycle, this is when we are to be seen. So in the spring phase, it's almost like a peacock phase. We're at our best, we're probably most attractive, and we are attracting at this phase in the month. Then we go from the spring phase into the summer phase. Now this is when we ovulate, so the body, the estrogen levels have gone up and up and up, and basically at this point the body is now moved into ovulation. So when we ovulate, this is the best time in the month for us being receptive to others. It's when our heart communication, our truth, is at its highest. It's when we want to connect more to others. It's also when others will be very much drawn towards us. So instead of the spring, buoyant, bouncy lamb energy, at this point, you know, we're easy to be around, quite gentle to be around, very engaging, connecting. And as much as the the cycle is designed for us to attract in partners, it also, this energy is very much aligned with our creativity. So whether it's in relationship or whether it's in work projects or just in connecting with others in general, these changes, fluctuating changes in our energy, are having a huge impact on lots of different parts of our lives. So we move from the ovulation stage, where our estrogen levels have gone up and then they're starting to taper off. And if an egg within your body hasn't been fertilized, the body naturally moves into this place. It's almost like it moves into a place of sadness. And our progesterone levels begin to increase. So the progesterone, the sleepy hormone, means that we become more introspective. At this point as well, this is us moving into the PMT phase, we might be a bit edgier. You know, we don't want to connect so easily. We're not feeling quite as soft and receptive. This also can be described as the wild woman phase. And I've spoken to clients who can kind of go a bit zany at this time of the month. So our bodies are changing, our energy's changing, we're feeling less of the positive connection, and we're wired to come inside. And we're coming inside because we need to review. So at this time, this is the time in the month where you might sit down with your girlfriend or one of your friends and start to tell them about what you're really thinking and feeling about this relationship, what you're really thinking and feeling about the work that you're doing right now, how you're really thinking and feeling about your body. So there might be a kind of slight negative slant to this phase, but there's also so much truth. There is such a thin veil between the conscious and the subconscious mind. At this time of the month, we are wired in this way. So where your partner or other people might think you're a bit zany at this time of the month, the truth is that your truth is surfacing and you don't have the energy reserves to hold back. So really naturally you're expressing your truth, or you might go a bit moody and hold your truth inside because this is how you really feel. And so at this period in the month, you're feeling hugely intuitive, hugely connected to who you really are and what you really feel. Once you go through this phase, you move into the winter phase. So this is when the egg definitely hasn't been fertilized. You've gone through the review and the tension has built up to such a point, and then we have a release. And in the release, we begin to menstruate. And this is the letting go of the month where, you know, the reproductive cycle hasn't been, or reproduction hasn't happened. And we move into this letting go of the month that has gone by, the experiences that have gone by. The tension has decreased and we're accepting exactly where we're at. When we menstruate as well, from the beginning of that menstruation, the estrogen levels are also starting to come back in again. So they're starting to climb. So some women, they might feel their libido starts to increase even as soon as they start bleeding. I remember doing some stats around this, and French women were very comfortable with the fact that they were really sexual at this time in the month because they were following the impulses of their bodies. So there's so much going on in your body every month. And this might make sense to you when you think of things at certain points in the month that really get you down, and you might express that to your girlfriends or to people out there. And then as your estrogen levels begin to increase and you move into that spring phase again, how you become more buoyant, and the things that bothered you, you can kind of let them go. But what is your truth? And what if you were to write down each month when you're premenstrual? What if you were to write down what it is that you truly feel? and you were to do this for a number of months, what I'd like you to do in the next 4 weeks is just begin to observe your energy. See the fluctuations. You know, there's all sorts of hints and tips in your workbook. And also, what I'd like you to do is to look at this energy system and honour her. You know, when your energy is low and you crave, your body is craving sleep, it's craving a duvet, it's craving an early night, it's craving a hot bath, give yourself what you need. And acknowledge that in those spring and summer phases, those are the perfect phases where you can be even more productive. You can be more out there. So begin to observe and then acknowledge these phases. And with love and compassion, why don't you now make a commitment to really begin to work with these internal rhythms, these internal energies that are trying to express themselves to you. This is your mind and your body and your spirit in action, trying to create a connection with you.